Hi, all. Double G here, solo on this breaking news podcast about the 49ers. The latest news yesterday when Roderick and I were on the air. We did not know about Brock Purdy's possible UCL injury. The UCL is the inside of the elbow. When he got hit, you could see his arm, his elbow sort of went an awkward way. And the word after the game was the fear was that there was a UCL injury. Now, you may have heard of this injury because it is a more common baseball injury. The UCL is short for the ulnar collateral ligament. Now, baseball pitchers, they usually have this issue because pitchers are bigger and stronger these days. They throw harder. They're using more force from their arm to achieve the velocity that they want. But for quarterbacks, it's not really an injury that you hear. I think some of that is because quarterbacks do not reach all the way back and come over the top with their throw. It's more a throw that's naturally near the ear, sort of like a baseball catcher. So you don't see those injuries. You don't see the 100-mile-an-hour fastballs coming out of quarterbacks a lot. So it is not normally a quarterback injury. Now, for baseball pitchers, it's really just wear and tear and overusage. And for quarterbacks, you're not throwing 100 pitches every 5 days. You're throwing, short, soft throws while you're warming up, and then when you're in the game, you're not always throwing passes with full effort. So what does this mean for Brock Purdy? According to Tom Pelissero from the NFL Network, the nightmare is reality. Brock Purdy suffered a complete tear of the UCL in his throwing elbow and will undergo surgery, per sources, is what he tweeted. And then he followed up by saying, Purdy is getting second opinions, but the initial hope is he can undergo a repair, not reconstruction, more commonly known as Tommy John surgery, and that he will be ready by training camp. So that is the difference here. And that is the hope for Brock Purdy, which is the UCL injury, which does need surgery, is not damaged so much that it needs full reconstruction surgery. That surgery would have him out probably for a full year and maybe even longer. The hope is that the repair surgery, in which the the surgery is not as I don't even know what it is. Reconstruction versus repair. I guess that's just the way to say it. The repair surgery would have him ready in 6 months, which is probably right around the time of training camp. Reconstruction, like I said, would have him out for much, much longer. So cross your fingers. And when we hear more news on Brock Purdy, just hope that you hear the words surgery for surgeries, repair versus reconstruction. So, as far as other quarterbacks, I know Josh Allen, I believe he had some soreness, maybe a sprain of that ligament this year. But I searched for it to see if there were other quarterbacks who've had this issue. I haven't seen a lot. It's probably because the Brock Purdy news is dominating Google right now, and I couldn't find anything. But what about the timeline? So as I mentioned, the hope is that he's ready before training camp. So what does that mean for Trey Lance? Well, as we saw, Lance had the broken ankle, and he has not even. I think he had to have a second surgery because of the hardware that was in the ankle. So who knows when Lance is going to be ready, but let's assume that he's ready by the OTAs. This will give him a leg up in this head-to-head battle for QB1, which I think is going to be the talk of the offseason for the 49ers. Now, there are signings that they have lots of free agents, McGlinchey, Jimmy Ward. They got to re-up Bosa. There's guys that are gonna. This is the NFL. That you're not going to keep all 53 on this roster for next year. There's going to be a lot of movement, but still, this is a quarterback city. The talk of the town, whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo or Alex Smith or Jeff Garcia replacing Steve Young, it's always quarterbacks. And so Trey Lance versus Brock Purdy is going to be a big discussion on your talk radio on this very podcast with Rod and I, and with everybody's friends as well. So I think the last thing to say here is, do the Niners bring in another quarterback as and not another rookie, but a veteran quarterback, just in case Brock struggles with the rehab? And could you see Jimmy Garoppolo back in 49er jersey? I don't think so. I don't think that is what's going to happen. I think Jimmy desperately is looking for that payday, and good for him, because he's been hurt a lot and he needs to get that last payday if he can. Now there's talk of this mid-40s quarterback that is out there by the name of Tom Brady, and do the Niners want to bring him in? One of the keys to having Brock Purdy as your QB1, or even Trey Lance, but having those two in your quarterback camp here, is that neither of them break the bank. So you can put a lot of that money towards re-signing Nick Bosa, towards fulfilling out the other roster. We'll see what they do with CMC and the money that he's owed, and how, if they're going to restructure his contract. So I don't see Tom Brady coming in unless he just wants to play for a major discount. Now, I don't know if the NFLPA would even allow that to happen, but I cannot see them bringing him in and him carrying a hefty price tag to, Brock Purdy. To me, Brock Purdy outplayed him in 2022/23. So I'm not sure if you would want to bring into some guy who, he had a solid season, but he was also afraid to get hit a lot, as we saw that when the Tampa Bay came here to San Francisco, and we saw him not playing very well at all. But that's going to be on the table. Again, it's a quarterback market for the 49ers, San Francisco, the Bay Area. We know Joe, we know Steve, and the buck kind of stops there. We'll let Alex Smith slide in there a little bit. Personally, I love Kaepernick, but so he's on the Mount Rushmore for me for 49ers QBs, but he had such a short stay. So it's going to be the discussion. Is it going to be Tom Brady? I would have said yes, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, before, when we didn't know what was going on with Jimmy because he was getting hurt. Would Tom come back? That was more on the table for me when he's like in his early 40s rather than his mid 40s. But I just don't see that that's the move that Shanahan, who likes the mobility of Brock and likes the mobility of Trey, I just don't see that he's going to make that move. But who knows? This is the NFL. These Shanahan has got to feel like he's right on the cusp. In the last 3 years, last 4 years, Super Bowl loss, NFC Championship loss, NFC Championship loss. He's got to be chomping at the bit to improve this team. I just don't know if it's going to be at QB. Maybe it is. Maybe Brock Purdy's his rookie season was a little bit of, well, we don't really have a lot of tape on this guy, so we don't know. And now come year 2, there's going to be more tape on him, and there will be more ways to stop him, and there will be more game plans around him. You never know. But wanted just to mention and wanted to get the breaking news out there for everybody. Short podcast, less than 10 minutes. Maybe we'll do some of these in the future for all shows that we do. We want winners, the death lineup, and Thompson to Clark. So hopefully you listened to Rod and I last night. Hopefully we gave you a little bit of a realistic look about that game last night. And then tomorrow you will hear Brad and myself on Thompson to Clark. We will be talking about the Giants Fan Fest. We will be talking about the Farhan talked about the rotation today. Giants signed a backup catcher, Robert Perez. And then Kyle Harrison shown up very highly on a lot of these prospect lists, including Keith Laws, which we'll talk about. So, all right. Thank you for checking out this very short breaking news emergency episode about Brock Purdy's elbow. Cross your fingers. Remember, you want to hear UCL repair, not reconstruction. That is where he's going to be with us next year and not have to miss the entire year, more than likely. All right. So, Double G, see you when we see you. Peace out.